Following the Galaxy's 3-1 win over the Earthquakes and ultimately a 3-2 aggregate win over the #1 seed in the Western Conference, View from the Booth playoff edition continues. I'm your host, Mark Rogandino, at mrogandino on Twitter. The Galaxy now moving on, just 2 teams left in the Western Conference as they'll turn to face the Seattle Sounders, a team that they beat 1 out of 3 games during the MLS regular season, and the Galaxy will host the first of the 2 legs here at the Home Depot Center. Let's talk about the win first against San Jose. That opening 45 minutes when the Galaxy took a 3-0 lead into the halftime break. I think you could argue that was the best half of soccer the Galaxy have played in all of 2012. And if that's an indication of things to come, the Galaxy may be peaking at the right time. And that display, that type of play, will be something without question that can carry them all the way through to MLS Cup. I love the way that Robbie Keane just came alive. Each of the 3 designated players, Landon Donovan, David Beckham, and Robbie Keane, all played superb, not just in that opening 45 minutes, but in the time that they were out on the field. And defensively, the Galaxy looked very good as well. I think in the second half that changed a little bit, but you had to expect that with a high-powered offense like the San Jose Earthquakes have, the way they were coming at the Galaxy. I think you even sensed they were going to get 1, but could they get 2 to bring that back to 3-3 level on aggregate? And the answer was no. So the Galaxy walk into the Western Conference Finals against a Seattle Sounders team that's coming off of beating Real Salt Lake in their 2-game aggregate series. And this is going to be a tough matchup for the Galaxy, but again, if they can display that type of play that we saw from them in that opening 45 minutes, and in particular in the first leg, I think it'll bode well for the Galaxy to go all the way through and book a ticket into the MLS Cup final. You don't want to dig yourself a hole as you did against San Jose. You can't expect to come out of that hole twice in one playoff run. I think they probably learned, they being the Galaxy, probably learned a little something about themselves and how they had to fight back there. But I think they probably also learned a lesson knowing that against a very good Seattle Sounders team coached by Ziggy Schmidt, former Galaxy coach, they cannot afford to dig themselves into a hole and expect to go up to Seattle in front of 60,000 plus fans and be able to get out of that once again. You don't want to have to rely on putting your back against the wall one more time to get out of it. As we talk Sounders for a minute, which of the players do I think you really have to be aware of? Freddie Montero comes to mind first. He's been sensational for the last couple of years for the Sounders. But I think the key is probably Eddie Johnson. And if he's able to play at 100% in the matchup, the way that he is able to get himself free, he scored a goal with his head against the Galaxy up in Seattle earlier this year. His ability to finish in and around the 18, his ability to finish with his head is so dangerous, and he's just very crafty. He's a veteran forward, knows how to find his space, knows how to play off the back shoulder of a defender, and he can wreak havoc whenever he gets just a little bit of space inside the 18. So I think if the Galaxy defensively can keep close taps on Eddie Johnson, that'll go a long way. A lot of this battle is going to be in the midfield as well. Can Juninho, Sarvis, David Beckham, can they dictate the tempo in the midfield? Because that's one thing that Seattle is very, very good at. They have some young players in Andy Rose, but then some veterans in a player like Osvaldo Alonso, who's for me has been one of the best defensive central midfield players in MLS for the last 3 or 4 years. So can the Galaxy control the midfield and have the ability to dictate the tempo, the ability to control how much possession they can have and create chances going forward? That'll be a huge key for LA in the 2-game series. And finally, defensively, I think when you look at the Sounders' defense, they've used a lot of pieces moving in and out of the defense all season long. And Ziggy Schmidt has done a good job rotating defenders to keep the legs fresh. But at the end of the season, that might be a detriment because you don't know how good the chemistry is between a certain group of guys. Is it John Kennedy Hurtado? Is it Jeff Park? Does Zach Scott get in the mix? Leo Gonzalez at a wide defensive spot? Which of those guys is going to be in there on a consistent basis and have the chemistry to go against one of the best attacks in the entire Major League Soccer in the Galaxy? So a lot of questions to answer, but the Galaxy can answer some of those questions with a win in the first leg Sunday here at the Home Depot Center. For this week's View from the Booth playoff edition, I'm Mark Rogandino. We'll see you out at the HDC.